Good morning. My name is Reverend Ed Tansey, and I, along with Reverend G. Stewart, welcome you, our Facebook Live family, and I wish a happy Easter to all who celebrate it. We are the founding ministers of Center for Spiritual Living, Greater Boston, and we are located at 50 Dudley Street in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And at this center, we practice and learn the wonderful philosophy that is called the science of mind, founded by Dr. Ernest Holmes. And that is the study of life and the nature of the laws of thought. I invite you to go to our website, cslboston.org, to find out more about our spiritual family here, this phenomenal philosophy, as I said, called the science of mind, and see how our community can serve you. And I ask that if you are feeling and being spiritually fed by our message here this morning, we ask you to include us in your prosperity circulation or tithing practice with your tax-deductible contributions that you can make right online. And we thank you in advance for your continued support. So the 2019 Center for Spiritual Living's theme is Spirituality in Action. And April's theme is Diversity and Inclusion. And our talk today is Immortality. Everyone's doing it. Everyone's doing it. So during my part of the talk here this morning, I'm going to be discussing Easter, Passover, and the Easter traditions that we have. So as most people know, Easter is a Christian holiday that celebrates the belief in the crucifixion and resurrection of Jesus Christ. And as it's stated in the New Testament in the Bible, Jesus' resurrection occurred 3 days after he was crucified by the Romans and died roughly in around 30 AD. So Easter concludes a series of events and holidays which begin with Lent, and that's like a 40-day period of fasting, of sacrifice, and of prayer, and ends with a Holy Week, which includes Holy Thursday, and that's the celebration of Jesus' Last Supper with his 12 apostles. Then Good Friday is the day that Jesus was crucified, and then Easter was when he was resurrected. So this time is called the Passion of Christ. So Easter is a holiday of high religious significance in the Christian faith. Now, did you know that many of the traditions associated with this holiday really date back to pre-Christian, to the pagan times? That's where a lot of the traditions are associated with and came from. So it's the resurrection of Jesus, as is described in the New Testament, that is essentially the foundation upon which the Christian religions are built, thus making Easter very, very significant on the Christian calendar. So the New Testament states that Jesus was arrested by the Roman authorities because he claimed to be the Son of God. So some historians also say they viewed and believed that Jesus was a threat to the empire. And it was Pontius Pilate who sentenced Jesus to death by crucifixion. So all of the four Gospels in the New Testament, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, states in various ways that those who believed in Jesus' death and resurrection are given the gift of eternal life, meaning that those of faith would be welcomed into the kingdom of heaven upon their earthly death. So now Easter is associated with the Jewish holiday of Passover, as we know. Jesus was celebrating Passover, which is a Jewish holy day. By the way, folks, did you know that Jesus was Jewish? Some people kind of forget that. So, Passover represents the time when Moses really freed the Jews from slavery in Egypt. Passover is a celebration of freedom and represents the safety of the Hebrew people during the 10 plagues that Moses brought upon the Egyptians. So one of these plagues were that death visited all of the Egyptian households and killed their babies, but passed over the Jewish families' households because the homes were marked with the blood of a lamb, showing to God that it was a Hebrew home. So now let's get back to the Last Supper. That's when Jesus was arrested. So the Last Supper was essentially like a Passover feast, and it was at this feast, the Last Supper, where Jesus shared the matzah, or the unleavened bread, with his 12 disciples, representing his body, and shared wine representing his blood. It was these rituals, really, that came to symbolize the sacrifice he was about to make in death, and really became the basis for the Christian ritual of Holy Communion, which is still a fundamental part of the Christian religious services today. So there are so many religions or religious traditions prior to Easter and on Easter itself that really hold such meaning to many different groups. So if we look at Western Christianity, that includes Roman Catholicism and Protestant denominations. The time prior to Easter is very special. And this is where the Lent comes in, which begins on Ash Wednesday. Ash Wednesday. So the Sunday before Easter is called Palm Sunday. Palm Sunday really commemorates the arrival of Jesus in Jerusalem, when all of his followers, laid down the palms across the road as they were greeting him into the city. So many churches begin the Easter observance in the late hours of the day before, called Holy Saturday. And it's a service that is called the Easter Vigil. The Easter Vigil. So now in Eastern Orthodox Christianity, the Easter ritual starts with what they call the Great Lent. And that begins on what they call Clean Monday. And that is like 40 days prior to Easter. So each Lenten period, though, never includes Sundays. So the last week of the Great Lent is referred to as Palm Week, which ends with a Lazarus Saturday. And that's the day before Palm Sunday. So again, for those groups, Palm Sunday marks the beginning of Holy Week, which ends on Easter. So there are so many traditions which are observed today by many non-Christians who really ignore the religious aspect of the celebration. So some examples of these non-religious Easter traditions include the Easter egg, and such games as egg rolling and doing egg decorating. So the Easter egg represents fertility and birth in certain pagan traditions that I've mentioned to you earlier that predate Christianity. So egg decorating really became part of that Easter celebration, not only to the religious significance of Easter. So Jesus' resurrection or rebirth in relation to all of that. So another activity around the Easter egg is the Easter egg hunt. And that's where decorated eggs are hidden, and kids go and find them. And I always enjoyed that activity, watching them as I got more vintage and seeing the kids, looking for their Easter eggs, etc. Now, my cousin Sandra and Tony, they had, I think, they added a different twist to the hidden Easter egg, because they would always have on Easter Sunday morning an Easter egg hunt. But what they did is they got plastic eggs, filled them, some with candy and some with money of different denominations. You know, and I mean, you want to see kids like going after Easter eggs when they opened one of them and realized that there was money. It was so funny to see, because I mean, then boy, they were quickly trying to find all of these eggs hidden in the yard. It was really a funny thing to see, and it was so enjoyable. I wanted to open up some of those Easter eggs that had the bucks in it myself, really, I must say. So now let's talk about the Easter Bunny. The Easter Bunny. So, to many of the households, the Easter Bunny would deliver very beautiful, decorated Easter eggs and candy and bunnies in this beautifully decorated basket. And I just so remember the Cadbury Easter egg. I used to love getting them in my Easter basket. And I remember as a child, I'd get up early in the morning and I would run to the front door to see what the Easter Bunny left me. Have any of you here had that experience where the basket would be delivered by the Easter Bunny? And yeah, did you enjoy that? I love that. Oh, you know, you really want to talk about being on a sugar high that day? I mean, I think on that day, on Easter Sunday, I remember parents must have had really a lot of patience, because the kids who had the joy of experiencing that Easter basket, I mean, I'd eat candy, man, and I'd be like sugar high all day, you know? So, the exact origin, though, of the Easter Bunny, of that Easter tradition, is really unknown and not clear. But some historians believe that it arrived in America with the German immigrants in around 1700s. And as we know, rabbits, you know, in many cultures are known as enthusiastic procreators. So the arrival of the baby bunnies in springtime meadows became associated with birth and renewal. So there are several Protestant Christian denominations, which like include the Quakers and Lutherans, who opted really to abandon many of the Easter traditions because they really named them too pagan. You know, but even though there are still many religious observers of Easter who also include all of the different celebrations. So then there's the Easter dinner. Do you remember the Easter dinner, people? The Easter dinner. And of course, one tradition is serving lamb, which really has the historical roots, because the lamb was often used, as a sacrificial animal, especially in the Jewish tradition. And lamb is frequently served during Passover, you know. And the phrase Lamb of God is sometimes used to refer to Jesus and the sacrificial nature of his death. So, during today's time, as we know with many holidays, Easter has become very commercial, as well as it being religious to some. So commercially, there's a high sale in greeting cards, various holiday candies I've mentioned, the chocolates like the Cadbury egg. There's the Peeps. Love the Peeps. Like the Peeps? Remember the Peeps? Those little delicious Peeps. The chocolate bunnies, the Easter basket, the Easter brunches, pictures with the Easter bunny, and very various commercial products. So what I thought I would do is show you some slides that capture, because I thought it was cute, the commercialism of Easter. So the slide one is the Easter basket with decorated color eggs. And that's really become a very popular tradition, because as we said, the egg represents new life and birth. And then of course I mentioned the greeting cards. And I have to say, so many beautiful different greeting cards, etc. Then the hand-painted Easter eggs. Now this is the front yard of William Joyce. And he is a well-known children's author and illustrator. And this is his home, his front home in Louisiana. So I'd love to have him as a next door neighbor. That just, I mean, look at how beautiful those eggs are. So that's what he would show. So then you got the Easter egg hunt, as I've mentioned. Like you see this lovely little child all dressed up in her Sunday best looking for hidden Easter eggs. And I wonder if there was any money in some of those eggs. Okay? So then the jelly bean. The jelly beans in a nest. And did you know that the jelly bean is one of the most popular candies associated with Easter? Jelly beans. And then there are those chocolates. Look at those beautiful chocolates. Look at the ears. I used to love eating the ears. One of my favorite goodies at Easter. I really like that. Then you have the Easter Bonnet Parade. Now here are some pictures of the parade in New York City, which was always a fun thing to participate in. Did anybody ever go to the Easter Bonnet Parade in New York City? You know, I haven't, but I've heard people say that, you know, they really enjoy it. Now, let me say this. Don't put it on, well, you already did. In 2017, here at CSL Greater Boston, we had our own Easter Bonnet Sunday, and here are some of the people who are sporting their designs. Just look at those hats. I've got a few more slides to show you of the hats. Slowly, let's see. Now, this wasn't one of them. Did any of you ever go in San Francisco to, what's the name of it?
Babylon.
Beach Blanket Babylon. This grouping of people, entertainers, look at that. Look at the bonnet that is. So it's not Easter, but you want to talk about bonnets, man. That's where I got my inspiration. But of course, it doesn't even come close to that. But it was fun. And those hats are so big that the people in that show are put on a platform, and the hats could be bigger than the sanctuary in length. Wow. I am not joking. Wow. It is something fascinating to see. And some of them were all motorized. The tops would move. It's totally phenomenal. So here's more. Okay, another slide. Look at that. Our Easter bonnets look pretty darn nice, I think. I really do. So I think that's it on the slide. Yeah. So talk about Easter egg design. Someone, look at the work that was done on this egg. And this person, his name was Frank Groen, and he carefully makes holes in the Easter eggs that make for a very, very special egg. I can't even fathom doing something like that. I mean, how many eggs when you think of must be broken? I mean, how delicate you'd have to move. But isn't that beautiful? That's quite a lovely Easter egg. Now then, the glazed ham that I mentioned, which is a very popular Easter Sunday dinner. Now this next slide, the burning oak wheel rolling. Have any of you seen this? When I came across this, I went, oh my God. This was a custom that welcomed spring that took place on Easter Sunday in Germany. Now this had to be pretty fascinating to experience. And they would roll it. Just so beautiful. And then I say, if not yet, if people, thank you, Rev G, if people can wear Easter bonnets, why shouldn't our beloved animals? This is a St. Bernard wearing his beautiful Easter bonnet, and that just warmed my heart when I saw that. So you see, I get like a kid at Easter myself. I didn't have any Easter baskets delivered this year, though, to my home, so maybe next year that might happen.
Any of your puppies have Easter bonnets?
No, because they didn't. And, I wish they did, because I would have, of course, that wouldn't have been the St. Bernard. It would have been my little family of bunnies. So now, on a more serious note, in mental science, I want to quote this from Ernest Holmes. There's the little chihuahua. I found that. It's not one of mine, but beautiful face. So mental science, from the Science of Mind text, does not deny the divinity of Jesus, but it does affirm the divinity of all people. It does not deny that Jesus was the Son of God, but it affirms that all men are the sons of God. It does not deny that the kingdom of heaven was revealed through Jesus, but it says that the kingdom of heaven is also revealed through you and me. So for all those individuals who celebrate Easter for whatever reason they do, for its religious significance or for its non-religious traditions, whatever it may be, I bid each a happy, joy-filled Easter. Namaste.
Thank you very much. You're welcome. That was lovely and informative. So my part about this whole thing, immortality, everyone's doing it. Well, we recognize that according to Ernest Holmes, immortality is our nature, right?
Yes.
We don't end. The physical body may end, but the essence of who we are does not end. So today I want to do a brief metaphysical interpretation of Jesus, the Christed One's resurrection, that which comes from Matthew. And I want to talk on our own personal crucifixions and our crucifixions of others. This is an important thing to think about, and it's a really powerful message. I feel good about it. So let's start here with the metaphysical interpretation. We're going to start with Matthew 28, verse 2 through 6, which says, "And behold, there was a great earthquake, for an angel of the Lord descended from the heaven and came and rolled back the stone and sat upon it. His appearance was like lightning, and his raiment white as snow. And for fear of him the guards trembled and became like dead men. But the angel said to the women, 'Do not be afraid, for I know you seek Jesus, who was crucified. He is not here, for he is risen, as he said,'" which was a part of his story during the whole the Thursday supper. So let's start with looking at this metaphysically. Okay? So the stone being rolled away, you can leave that slide up actually because I can refer back to it. The stone being rolled away by the angel causing great fear in the guards. Let's start there. Our overwhelming fear of what is in the tomb of our belief keeps us from moving the stone of our limited ideas out of the way. Would you agree? Oftentimes we're afraid to look in that tomb. What is in there of all of the crap that we may be carrying? So then we look at the angel, which represents our inner presence of God that wants to reveal the truth to us. So the divine is constantly saying, roll away the stone. And we're not. Why? Because we're afraid. We're afraid of what we might find when we roll away that stone. So the stupid stone is in the way. Now the guards falling like dead, which I think is a really powerful visual, is really about being paralyzed in fear. Would you agree? Have you ever been paralyzed in fear, like you couldn't move, you were just like frozen? So it's being frozen as if you are dead, like you can't move. And that's what happens, right? When our fears are so hidden and we don't even know what's in there, right? Many times we don't even know what the fear is. But it's hidden in that tomb and we know it's in there, and so we're afraid to roll back the stone. We're afraid to find out what's going on in there. So now Jesus being risen is really about our transcendence in consciousness. When we connect to the indwelling presence and realize our oneness and that God is all there is, we are then freed. We're transcending that limited belief and what is hiding in that tomb. We are actually transforming what's going on in that tomb. So when we do the work to roll away the stone of our fears, most times we discover that by transcending or becoming elevated above the problem, we see that there is really nothing there at all. The tomb is empty. And that's what they tell them. The tomb is empty. He's not there. Our fears are not in that tomb. So why are we spending so much time with that rock in front of the door when we can open that tomb, let in the light, and free ourselves from the limited beliefs that we've been carrying around all our lives, right? Isn't that what this is about? Is transforming this. Now I find that for me the most important thing that I glean from this passage is the message of the angels. Do not be afraid, for I know that you seek Jesus who was crucified. He is not here, for he is risen, as he said. Do not be afraid. Is that not the inner voice that we don't listen to a lot of times? We get that message, and yet there's that part of us that says, yeah, what? Right? Stands in that fear. Don't roll away the stone. I don't know what's in there. Right? I've spent many times in those places. So have we done enough tomb time? Have we finished with our tomb time? It's time to open up and roll away the stone. Let in the light and realize that in the light, darkness is dissolved. It doesn't go anywhere because it isn't real. It's just our old limited ideas about things. So, Ernest Holmes reminds us, and I love this quote from Ernest Holmes, that Christ is universal idea, and each one puts on the Christ to the degree that each one surrenders a limited sense of life to the divine realization of wholeness and unity with good Spirit God. The many different names that Ernest likes to use for that divine presence, the thing itself. And this comes from the Science of Mind glossary. So when we put on that Christ consciousness, we rise above, we elevate our consciousness to that higher level, which is what this whole belief system is about. It's about reaching that cosmic or Christ consciousness, rising above the limited human fear and separation that has kept us in the tomb. And I'm done with the tomb. So knowing this, why do we keep crucifying ourselves and others? That's a good question. Well, I know that when it comes to the idea of crucifying others, when I'm pointing the finger at you, it takes the attention off of me. Does it not? Mm-hmm. So I don't have to look at my own crap, at my own stuff, right? So who among us has been invalidated, discriminated, humiliated, violated, rejected, misrepresented, betrayed, or otherwise degraded by someone's words, actions, or behaviors? Right? All of us, right? Who had, I don't think I've ever met anybody that hasn't, right? We've all had that happen in our lives. When this happens to us in our life, we allow ourselves to be crucified each time it happens. Humiliated, crucified. Degraded, crucified. All of those different words. We've been crucified, and you've carried that crucifixion. You're carrying around that cross. And why? Because you've chosen to buy into that limited belief that someone else said or that you said about yourself, right? We're holding on to that. We're crucifying ourselves with this stuff. So, is it now that we need to remember that we were born in pure love? Would you agree? We were born in pure love. There's nothing more beautiful than an innocent and beautiful baby. And it brings up pure love. The mother forgets the travail when that child is placed in their arms. All that is gone when that is there. Pure love. And we are meant to experience pure love. That's what it's all about. That we no longer need to accept the crucifixion of the past words, deeds, or beliefs in our lives. We're beyond that. We need to understand that the divine nature's answer to crucifixion is resurrection. Is to be resurrected into a new life. Born anew. Not born again, but born anew every day. Resurrect from the crucifixion of your past into the truth of who you are. Pure love. Because that's what we're about. Are you ready to be resurrected today and every day? Are you ready for that?
Yes.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. And we agree. Are we ready to get the old stories, beliefs, and fears? And are we ready to let go of the old stories, beliefs, and fears and step into the light of a new truth?
Yes.
Yes. I would agree with you on that. Are we ready to experience the Christ or cosmic consciousness every day?
Yes.
Yes. Then roll away the stone. Or as I heard in a movie once, get off the cross, somebody needs the wood. Daily align yourself with the infinite presence, no matter what may be appearing in your world. And that's when it's the test, right? When the stuff is showing up in our world. When we find ourselves in that limited consciousness, we have to bring ourselves back. It is only an appearance. And we are co-creating tomorrow today. Think about it. You're co-creating your tomorrow today. Change your thinking. Transform your life. Make a difference in the world and make a difference within yourself. So daily remember who you are. You are an individualized expression of the one love, the one mind, and the allness of the universe. Take that in. You are an individualized expression of the one love, the one mind, and the allness of the universe. That's powerful when we can shift ourselves into that belief. Now I love this quote from Tracy Brown, a religious science practitioner who wrote the book Stained Glass Spirit, Becoming a Spiritual Community Where Oneness Does Not Require Sameness. And I love this quote because it really awakens that idea of how limited we can be. Ignoring the beauty and value and uniqueness of different types of people is equivalent to ignoring God and refusing to see all the ways God shows up as humanity. We don't do that with dogs. We don't do it with flowers or trees or clouds or spices or nature or art. So why would we do it with humans? Why is that different? I love what she's saying here. She's reminding us to see the divinity in everything. And I think the thing to realize about this idea is that our humanity is washed in divinity. And when we bring ourselves back, we are washing ourselves. Has anyone ever had their feet, had a foot washing done on Good Friday?
Yes.
Yes.
It's powerful.
Yeah.
And it's humbling. And it's such an amazing experience. And so that's what it is. That is our humanity being washed in divinity. Would you agree? Awakening the divine within us. When we remember who and whose we are not only transforming our lives, we are offering the opportunity for others to transform as well. And we are being the great example. So we need to remember that Jesus the Christ was not the great exception. He was the great example. And that's what we do here, is we follow that truth about the Christ. The Christ within us. The kingdom of heaven is within. Not out here. It's within. That's where we begin. Always begin within. So do you want to be the great example to the world?
Yes.
Yes, so do I, so do I. Then remember who you truly are every day. You and I, again, are those individualized expressions of the one, the infinite, the absolute. Just like Jesus, Buddha, or any ascended master, or even masters that may be walking the world now. They're all the same. We are all the same. We all have the same possibility. We are all the divine sons and daughters of the one mind, of the one infinite universe. So, is it work? Damn betcha it is, right? It's work. But it's work for me that is worth every minute, every hour, and every day that I do it. Because my life is different now than it has ever been in my entire life. I am born anew every day. I don't step out of the bed without doing a quiet prayer to myself, recognizing the divine in everything, to open that consciousness and begin my day. To be resurrected every day. Ernest Holmes says this, this is from an Easter message that he offered. We should resurrect ourselves to the joy and simplicity and spontaneity of life and leave the corpses of our dead yesterdays in the tomb of their obscurity. I love that.
Yeah.
Leave the corpses in the tomb. You don't need to carry them around with you. We should live more abundantly in God this day. When we come out of our tomb of ignorance and disbelief, how glorious shall be the dawn. Isn't that awesome? He was so amazing. And that comes from the journey into life. So, are you ready to roll away the stone and let in the light of truth?
Yes.
Yes. Then let's do it. Namaste. So let's just go into prayer. Let's go into that place of recognition. Remembering who and whose we are. And the purpose of this treatment is for each one to be empowered, uplifted, and enfolded in the divine realization, to be resurrected into new, more abundant, joyous, perfect, whole, and complete life in every area of each one's heart, mind, and life. So recognizing the one infinite universal source, the creative energy, the absolute, the Mother, Father, God, the quantum possibility field, the scientific principle, the allness of the universe that is in and as and through everything. For it is the source, it is the substance, it is the creative energy that is vibrating into form constantly, limitlessly, and perfectly. Always. Knowing this, I know that the infinite universal one is expressing as me, individualized, a perfect light of that one light. And as I know that about myself, I know that about each one in this room. I know this about all on Facebook Live. I know this about all throughout the cosmos, that this one infinite universal intelligence is awake and aware and alive in all of creation. It is awake and aware and alive in the food that we will be sharing in fellowship later. It is awake and aware and alive in this message. It is awake and aware and alive in each life here and throughout the cosmos. And in this transformative understanding of this one, I simply call forth the truth for each one to fully and wholly and completely experience a resurrection in every area of their life, whenever desired, empowered by that divine presence awakening in each one, shifting its consciousness into a greater expression of life into all areas of health, wealth, vitality, perfection, wholeness, abundance, all of these areas filled with that light of the divine reality and awakening each one into a new life, a new way of being. I see this, I declare this, I claim this as absolute truth right here and right now, and I am grateful and joyous, knowing that it is the divine gift that is always given. And I roll away the stone from the limited ideas and realize that the light that shines into the tomb clears all of the limited fears that separate each one from the perfection and wholeness that each one is meant to experience and desires. So in gratitude, I claim these gifts in joy, knowing it is the Mother, Father, God's good pleasure to give the kingdom right here and right now. I know this is done. I know this is fulfilled. And so as I release it into the law, into that creative energy that receives the impress of these thoughts and acts upon them right now, that it is done, that it is fulfilled. I say, blessed be, amen, ashe, ah, women. And together we say, and so it is. So let's join together in our affirmation. I courageously step into life with all that I am. Let's say that one more time together. I courageously step into life with all that I am. And that comes from Reverend Christian Sorensen, Seaside CSL. Christian Sorensen, as a kid, used to play in Ernest Holmes' office. Pretty cool. Want to do that again?
I would like that.
Shall we read that again?
Yes.
Yes. I courageously step into life with all that I am.
And so
And
is.
so it is. Yes.